And this one is nuts, man. We have talked about Sweet Baby Inc. a lot, just like most people in our space. Um, Look, they're not the only thing wrong with the problem, but they are a definitely a point to look to as the problem in the video game space, right? This idea of forced diversity, injecting ideology into video games for the better good, right? When in reality, people just want fun games. That's it. That's all they want, just fun games. But this was interesting here, as this was discovered as a Sweet Baby Inc. employee admits their goal is to burn the game industry to the ground. Now, who is this person? This is Cameron Wild. Now, who's Cameron Wild? I don't know, but I guarantee this is not their real name.
Is that a dude?
I'm glad you asked.
Non-binary.
That's right, non-binary along the way. And they did and you can see Cameron Wild's name is right here as a writer in Suicide Squad, Kill the Justice League. Remember that smashing success we saw earlier this year?
You mean that one that lost
Oh, yeah.
$200 million?
Shut up, Blabs. You bigot. It's ridiculous. Well, as we continue down, says they put together a presentation. Them put together a presentation called "How to Get Away with Murder: Subverting Genre Expectations" at the Game Developer of Color Expo. Now, we do have a game developers conference, which we've talked about that at length, right? The Game Developers Conference, but now we have a Game Developers of Color Expo, and Kirsha actually brought this up. Now, Kirsha will be joining us tomorrow on the show. Very excited to have Kirsha joining us again. But Wild introduced themselves as a narrative designer and sensitivity reader with a company called Sweet Baby Inc. Now, Wild has worked on the Tales of Kenzaria game, which failed. Suicide Squad, Kill the Justice League, which failed. Alan Wake 2, which has not made money back. The Crew Motorfest. I don't know how you write a narrative design in that. And God of War Ragnarok as well. So they then declared the stories we tell each other are way more than entertainment. They are how we create debate and preserve our collective values and beliefs. And we can and should make better and more expansive, more representational content. Now, this is a pretty long video. It's 28 minutes long as this person kind of goes through. But Kirsha has done a very good job of highlighting some of the things along the way here. But and we'll get to that in just a second. But this is a slide early on. It says, then what am I doing here? And you can see the 3 bullet points says, we want cooler stories, we want a safer world, and burning the games industry to the ground. This is their words, not mine. So for me, this is one of those situations where when somebody tells you what they are, you listen to them. And when they say, hey, I want to destroy everything that you love, you say, okay. And you pay attention to what they have to say. And then you excommunicate them from your industry. Just throwing it out there. But here's about 2 minutes and 18 seconds from Kirsha's stream the other day, which, we'll just read this off. It says, the people at Sweet Baby Inc. really don't hold back in telling you what they want to do, which is to burn the game industry to the ground. Full video underneath. And she has an hour and a half breakdown of this. But here is about 2 minutes of this.
There's no sound.
If you're going into a game trying to make it more representational content instead of just making a good game first and foremost, your game is not going to be good. Like, I genuinely don't understand this mindset, right? Like, I mean, I do, right? Because their most important thing is pushing their cultural revolution, even though they're going to lie to you and call you crazy for pointing it out. Blazing Saddles is extremely aware. This
next part is about their favorite film. This person's favorite film, this Sweet Baby Inc. employee here, Cameron Wild. Let's see why it's their favorite film. And just the bullet points is, Blazing Saddles is extremely aware of social inequity and finds its humor in that darkness. Brooks made sure that the jokes came at the expense of whiteness and chipped away at the absurd social hierarchy. It isn't respectful. It's offensive, sure, but it offends the right people mostly. Who did say Blazing Saddles offend? I always thought it was fucking hilarious. You ever seen Blazing Saddles, Arch? No? Oh my God. It's phenomenal. It is a great film, and it pokes fun at racism across the way, the whole thing. It's great, but let's see what this person has to say about it.
Seidel is extremely aware of social inequity and finds humor in that darkness. Brooks made sure the jokes came at the expense of whiteness and chipped away at an absurd social hierarchy. It isn't respectful, it's offensive, but it offends the right people. I think that last sentence is very telling. You're allowed to be offensive as long as it's towards the right people.
The final piece, maybe the biggest failing of Django Unchained as a genre film, is power. And I'll get to the lesson early because good genre must consider its relationship to power. That is true of horror, science fiction.
Tarantino hasn't earned the right to laugh. Earned the right to laugh. What the actual fuck am I reading? These people are lunatics.
Genre is incompatible with the death of the author. In Tarantino's case, the man seems to thrive on people hating him, and so I don't hate him. But I do think his work needs to be critiqued out of existence, and that he's...
Wow.
His work needs to be critiqued out of existence, Arch. And you can see Kirsch's response here coming, but let's get your thoughts on that first. The idea of critiquing somebody's work out of existence, Arch.
Well, this is, as you mentioned already, the death of the author. Now, the death of the author is a very interesting thing on the left because they will apply the author's intent to things so long as it backs up their worldview. This is why Starship Troopers is fascist, because Heinlein said it was, regardless of what's actually in the film. They will also reject the death of the author the moment that an interpretation that goes against the author's wishes is more favorable to the left wing. It's all about power. As we talked about earlier with the moral foundations, they simply do not recognize the majority of the conservatives' moral points of views as relevant at all. And thus, they have no problem rejecting them because they are bad. So Tarantino here has done something that is bad. And so via critique, basically by redefining and claiming his work, they can critique him out of existence by saying, no. What he actually meant is this thing. This thing is pro-left. And that way you can remove Tarantino's vision and his presented worldview and replace it with one more favorable to yourself. So you don't need to actually reject the movie, you just claim it. And this is something the left has been doing for ages, where there's countless videos claim like this is left-wing, that is left-wing, like this video is left-wing, etc. That was how they managed to take over so much culture, because they managed to convince even things like Star Wars that Star Wars and Star Trek are all left-wing. And so when they come into Disney boardrooms, they simply say, well, we're creating a Star Wars story because we've defined Star Wars in these ways.
You know, Ian came in with this, and he says that breakdown of Blazing Saddles is exactly why these humorless progressives cannot be allowed to police comedy. They literally don't understand it.
Yes, exactly.
Man.
Again, that is the point of the moral foundations theory. They actually, literally, do not understand. Like, it's not hyperbole. They actually don't get it.
Well, let's see what Kirsche has to say about this. The idea of critiquing Tarantino and his work out of his existence. Let's see what Kirsche had to say right here.
I don't hate him. I just think his work needs to be critiqued out of existence. Might I remind you, Chad, the beginning of his slides said that one of his goals was to burn the game industry to the ground.
Sweet Baby also does portfolio reviews for marginalized folks in the games industry. and a little bit of career.
I like how he calls this talk How to Get Away with Murder, Subverting Genre Expectations, because he and people like him do a very good job of murdering any kind of project they work on.
She's not wrong. Kirsten's not wrong on that one for sure. So this is a full presentation that was put together for this thing. And by the way, I'd just like to point out the thumbs up, thumbs down ratio for this How to Get Away with Murder, Subverting Genre Expectations has not gone very well, as you would expect. And rightfully so. People are calling it out. It's a bunch of nonsense. And I think the thumbs up down ratio, I want to make sure I get this pulled up. I can't pull it up on this one. Let's see. It currently is sitting at 12 thumbs up, 448 thumbs down. So it's not gone over very well. And the comments are calling it out exactly for what it is. It's blatant racism along the way. So Sweet Baby Inc. at it again. Once again, these are the people that are being brought in to consult for your video games. I brought this up yesterday on Tuesday night's main event, and I mean this. We talked about this with Malcolm Blabs a while back about creating a company, a consultancy firm.
Yeah.
We've also talked about the idea of toxic positivity in video games, the inability for people to say no and management to say no to their staff. Arch, first off, what's your thoughts on toxic positivity in gaming?
Well,
is that how we got here?
Partially. It's also the fact that we don't know how to refute their points. That is one of the strongest things. A key point of subversion, and we could go all the way back to Gramsci on this, is basically to appropriate the values of liberalism. We say, you don't want to be racist. And we go, of course we don't want to be racist. We're not racist, obviously. Okay, well, I can tell you how to not be racist. Just listen to me. There you go. And most people aren't going to understand, like, okay, well, he says it, this isn't racist. No, I'm not racist. So I'm just going to listen to him. And even then, if he suggests something that actually is racist, and you go, wait, hold on. You want to artificially favor black people? Isn't that? No. That's positive discrimination. Like, oh, okay. And again, most people don't have the academic knowledge to understand the linguistic tricks being used here. So they're just going to say yes. And they're going to think they're doing the right thing. Because again, nobody wants to be racist.
Right.
And so they'll say yes.
Well, this has led to the toxic positivity aspect of it, because once again, nobody wants to say no as well. No, you can't have that. No, you can't. You can't have that type of ideology. No, you can't have surgery scars in your game.
Nobody's going to say you can't be trans here, for example, or you can't be like inclusive, because these are negative things within our ideology.
Right. So my idea, Arch, is to create a company called the No Team, short for TNT, the No Team, and you go in, and that is your job. To say no to all these idiots. No, you cannot have a raise. No, you cannot put that in there. Like I am the hammer. I am the hammer that you reach, and I will fucking nail that down and say no every time. I have no problem being the no guy. I have no problem being the bad guy to right these ships. I have no problem going in and firing 80% of the staff and Elon Musking the shit out of it and being like, hey, there you go. Get the fuck out. Can't I have a job? No, you cannot have a job. No, I will be the lead member of the No Team and go in and do this. I think there's 100% an opportunity there. And I think there's actually big money in it too, because if you were to go in and be like, hey, listen, hey, Ubisoft, you're in the shitter right now. You pay us $1 million. You're going to save so much fucking money. You pay us $1 million to come in and say no for everybody. We're going to lighten your load on staff. We're going to brighten up your games, and that $1 million that you spend is going to make you $500 million. You know what I mean? Like, it's a small fraction to pay, small price to pay for the big. And you know what we'll do? If there's any issues, we'll just go up to their HR people and we'll say, and we'll frighten them. Say, could you imagine what would happen if you don't do this? Sorry, I was pulling a little Kim Bel-Air there. Anyways, I think it makes sense. I am the hammer. I will hammer it down. Well, anyways, good luck with that guy along the way. And that is exactly. And once again, when they tell you who they are, believe them.